I can't sleep unless my calendar is done for the next day. I literally will lay awake. I got this, I got to do this. But if you just take a moment, write that stuff down, right? Or put it where you'll see it first thing in the morning, or go ahead and put it in your schedule that day. Guess what? I'm out.
Welcome to the Resilient Gentleman Podcast with your hosts, Douglas Berger and Christopher Payton. This show is all about forging unbreakable men on a path to greatness. Welcome to the show.
All right, welcome back to the Resilient Gentleman Podcast. I'm Chris Payton, the 615 negotiator, your car buying superhero, one of the sponsors, along with
Mr. Douglas Berger, Trans World Business Advisors of Murfreesboro, where we connect buyers and sellers in Middle Tennessee and beyond.
Nice. So last week we kind of wrapped up with talking about, we talked a lot about working out,
Yep.
physical health,
Yep.
which helps with mental health, but
Absolutely.
some of it was starting to get overwhelming. Just time was starting to get to where I was like, man, what does your day look like?
Yep.
And I've got a pretty good schedule system. I use the calendar and I like a digital Google Calendar, What does your schedule look like? And if you were to recommend something, what would be the first thing you would start scheduling into that schedule?
So typically, the main thing is the working out, right?
Okay.
So that should go in your calendar, whether you're 3 times a week, 5 times a week, every day of the week, whatever. The most important things need to go in there first. And those are the ones that are concrete. You don't touch them. Like we said before, if you have dinner with the wife and kids or something.
Non-negotiable.
Not right. Exactly. That's the term I'm looking for.
Okay.
Non-negotiable. That needs to be in there. So time management, to me, that's been very effective. I learned in my 20s is you write everything down that you need to do, right?
Sure.
We're good at this because we get the honey-do list at home,
Right.
right? So we've seen that list.
Yeah.
All right. Might not be our list, but it's similar. So anything that you need to do as it comes up, oh yeah, I got to do this. I have to do that. Put it on your task list, right?
Okay.
And then after you get that task list, you prioritize those, right? Maybe you use something simple like ABC, right? A will take precedence over B, and B will take precedence over C, right? And then you have the transition to actual hard appointments and or time slots into your calendar, right?
Okay.
So I can't sleep unless my calendar is done for the next day. I literally will lay awake. I got this, I got to do this. But if you just take a moment, write that stuff down, right? Or put it where you'll see it first thing in the morning, or go ahead and put it in your schedule that day. Guess what? I'm out.
All right.
I'm sleeping
so
good.
are you a digital calendar guy, or you keep
Yep.
saying write down, but you're talking about your task list?
Yeah. So if it's something immediate, like if I'm talking to you with something right now, I'll text myself
Okay.
real quick. And then when I have a moment or when I go to schedule, I'll add it to the task list in my Outlook.
Okay.
So I basically run off Outlook because
Okay.
it's worth work. So I integrate everything personal and business and all that on the same one, just so I don't have to go to other ones.
Perfect.
Even though if I have something come up on a Google calendar, I'll get a notification, but I try to keep it all in the same spot.
Okay.
So yeah, it'll go from either text myself a reminder and then add it to the task list and then prioritize and then put it actually into the
Okay.
day.
So if I have my workout blocked, and I work out in the afternoon, that's irrelevant, right? But if I'm blocked for 7 a.m. workout, I start work, typically I'll start taking appointments between 8:30 and 3 or whatever, right? So what if I have to do, that's rare, I guess, but what if a meeting comes up that's a 7:30 meeting? That's eating into my workout time.
Correct. So adjust
Okay.
or replace. So
Okay.
maybe go a little bit earlier, get up a little bit earlier, start your day a little bit earlier, or maybe you shift your workout to later in the day that that day. All right. The key is to be consistent most days. Like if you're 99% on it, you're going to have the exception that pops up.
Okay.
Right. However, if that exception comes up from excuses or anything in the blue moon, then you're going to get away from that ultimate habit. So it doesn't have to be 100% rigid, but that's why early workouts tend to work out the best because it's before the day starts, right? Like that 5:30 a.m. club book. Have you read into that or whatever? You get up and you spend a certain amount of time reading personal improvement, right? Your workout or whatever else in that time frame before the business world starts working, because it's pretty quiet. It's pretty nice. You know, you can actually work out and not have your phone on you and worry about calls or texts or something like that that's coming in too.
What's that
right?
like?
Which is not exact. See?
Yeah.
So you get that separation from that too, which is nice.
Okay. So that's cool. I'm curious though, we have similar business types right now in that we're project based, and your business can be a lot of networking, a lot of sales appointments and or meetings, and going to this site visit, this business visit, meeting an owner, doing all this stuff.
Yep.
So you're doing all those things all over throughout your day. Do you have projects? I know you do business evaluations and things like that. Are there projects that you, I don't want to say dread, but like you can't take a call during? How do you do that? Like, do you have any methods for your day for managing stress or projects?
Yeah. So most of the projects I do, I can kind of break away from if I had to and jump right back in where I'm at.
Okay.
Because building evaluation, it takes a lot of time, right? So there's no way I'm going to be able to do evaluation in its entirety one set, right? Or even when I'm building out like a sim for marketing material or something like that. But if something is on a deadline and I only have an hour left, everything gets turned off and I'm going to knock it out. But that goes back to blocking out some time, right? Okay. So you probably should, because we're inundated with emails, right?
Yeah.
So, and this is something I've been doing because I used to be, or have been, I like to look and respond pretty quickly, right? I like to be engaged. However, there's so many, and then I've forgotten a few to go back because I've went in there. So then the highlight's gone or the notification's gone. And then I didn't either text myself or remind myself, then I forgot. So it seems to be working out. And I've done this in the past where 30 minutes before like lunch or before you take that lunch break, you go through all your emails, or give yourself an hour if a lot of your work is driven email based.
Got it.
Right. Or whatever. Or maybe that's the first thing you do after your personal stuff in the morning. Like maybe say your business starts at 9 a.m., but maybe at 8 a.m. you go through your emails from the day before or night prior or whatever. Yeah, you got to block, like the technology nowadays, it's good, but it's also can be overwhelming too. So you might have to block out those times. And then if you're in sales and all that, you got to block out a certain amount of time for cold calling and networking and leads.
Right.
And you have to, because that's something that the grand majority of the people, you can't do that for a long period of time. Right. That's like sprinting.
Yeah.
Right. You can't sprint for an hour straight. I mean, unless you're one of those marathoners or something like that. But
you told me about, it sounded like a pasta, but it was, or like an Italian dish. I'm trying to, so there's like basically a work effort task sprint. Tell me about that.
Oh, so
wasn't it like Pomodoro?
Yeah, Pomodoro.
Okay.
So, and I just read about this recently. I've used it in similar effects.
Okay.
So the Pomodoro idea is where you focus 100% completely, set a timer, everything else, cell phones and all that's totally away for 25 minutes. And then you take a 5-minute break.
Nice.
So I think that's a good intro to focus work, right? That's like kind of like baby steps. And then as your ability increases to extend that, then you extend it as needed. And it depends on the project too, you know, because if you're 20, 25 minutes in and say you're a writer or something like that, but you're just in this zone and you're like cruising, right? Everything's flowing through. You don't want to stop at that moment. But if you have insurmountable tasks that need to be done, it's probably a good idea to start with that. 25 minutes hardcore.
Cool.
All right, 5 minutes, go for a quick little walk, maybe do some squats or grab a drink of water or something like that. And then boom, back at it.
Well, there's got to be a depreciation of quality of work that ties to as well, right? Yeah. So depending on what you do and how you do it, there's got to be a level of diminished value the longer you stay. You mentioned a writer who might get in the zone, and that's cool.
Yeah, maybe.
But I mean, if you're doing a task, and especially if it's numbers, for me, like, if I'm going through all these numbers and I start to make miscalculations and things like that, probably
I do that all the
more
time.
you do it, the more you're doing it, the harder that becomes, or the diminished value and return on effort starts to slack. And so maybe that 5-minute break at the 25-minute mark is good.
Yeah.
Kind of a reset.
And what's your viewpoint of multitasking? Is it possible?
Yeah. Being in the car business, and being a desk manager or general sales manager, I would argue that multitasking is the only way to operate. Because I would say you could start on a project and you'd almost have to have I've operated with multiple monitors for years, because without it, I feel like I can have a project over here and work on something over here. But
so you can shift gears efficiently.
For sure. Now, multitasking in I'm accomplishing multiple things at one time is a little bit, I think that's a misnomer. I don't know that anyone's multitasking, completing tasks at the same time. So you're saying you can't do it?
No, I think you can only be focused on one thing at a time.
So if we're saying that you cannot multitask, why do people do it?
Because they think they have to. And like you have to, right? Or at least some version of it where you have to keep an eye on so many things within a short amount of time, because especially a desk manager, right? You got one guy that just logging somebody, then you got another one that's negotiating, and then you got a dealer locate or whatever. So you literally do have, but you can only focus on one thing at a time. Like you'd have to stop him and then go here. He might have to stand there and wait. Right. Knock this one out. Prioritize, right? You're probably going to pick which one of these is the most important. Probably the person they're negotiating is probably the most important. A dealer locate, probably even less important than the guy who's just logging somebody that came in the showroom.
Right.
So, but you focus on each one of those intently. However, you couldn't talk to all three of them at the same time.
Correct. Okay. Right. I like that. So,
and I think performance-based too, you got to realize.
Yeah.
If you dedicate more time to where you maximize not only the effort, but the focus, I think would have the same relation when it comes to results.
Yeah, the diminished value and the diminished quality of work. Yeah, it's got to go down. Okay. So that's interesting. Now, in the last week's episode, we talked about sleep and 7+ hours of sleep.
Yeah, ideally.
I think I'm in that 6 to 7 window. Yeah. And I've heard, though, and maybe you could argue this, you probably will. I've heard high performers, some of these billionaire performers that live on 3 and 4 hours of sleep. Speak to that.
So that wouldn't work for me.
Okay.
And
can you train yourself to do that, though?
I think you can do just about anything that you want to do, right? But is it good for you? Technically speaking, I have heard that 6 hours is enough for your brain for sleep, right? I've never heard anything less than that is adequate. That doesn't mean someone can't do it, right? But I don't know. I'd have to see it to really believe it if they're really on 3 hours of sleep every night. And then what's the rest of their life looks like? Yeah, maybe they're really successful in business because they're dedicating their whole time to it. But are they healthy?
Right.
Right. What's their blood work look like? You know, what's
Yeah,
their
is
energy
that
levels?
a season of time that you can exist in that window?
Right. I don't,
That's interesting.
I don't think that's sustainable. I mean, 6 hours minimum on a consistent basis, I would say. But I know me personally, if I'm not getting 7 or 8 on a regular basis, I'm not myself. I'm not. I'm not as focused. I'm not as alert. My brain is not as clear. I don't have the energy. Right. I couldn't even tell you last time I took a nap in the afternoon. Right. I'm 53 years old. That should be, you know, non-negotiable spot in the afternoon for me for like a half hour to an hour. But man, I'm good.
Yeah, I would like a nap time. I mean, that sounds lovely.
I used to like naps, but I don't need
Are
them.
you I struggle with this. Are you a yes guy, or like if somebody asks you to do something, do you want to always say yes, or do you?
I tend to be a people pleaser, more of a yes, but I do have boundaries,
Okay.
right? And I probably should be a little bit more firm with
Okay.
boundaries and saying no more often, but it doesn't take me long to adjust if it's detrimental.
Okay.
If I'm saying yes too often for certain things or giving too much time for certain things without anything in return and or without a real benefit to it for anybody, then I can cut it off pretty quick.
Do you have hard no's? You know, we've talked about the non-negotiable workout time.
Yeah.
Do you have a hard no, like I don't work past this time, or I don't take a meeting after this time? Or,
No, I will work 24/7.
okay.
So I will take a meeting whatever time. But that's also my own navigating of the waters, right? So I'm
Sure.
in a business world. So
Yeah.
I'm not in residential real estate, right? So most business happens between 9 and 5, Monday through Friday. There's
Right.
not much going on weekends and nights. Business owners, they're tired, right? They go home, they have their things to do, but that doesn't mean it doesn't come up. But yeah, I mean, you can ask my wife. I'm on the phone till 7, 8 o'clock if someone's calling. I'm on the computer. I mean, I was emailing you guys until what, 8 or 9 o'clock last night with about this. So I'm not afraid of work at all.
Right.
And if I need to get something done, I'll get it done.
Okay. So when do you say no? Well, you said I'm a people pleaser, which I tend to be the, yes. I don't want to tell people no a lot of times, right?
Right.
Like I feel like, especially like I feel bad, I think, when
I do too.
I say no and then I'm like sitting on the couch during that window of time that I told them no. And I'm like, I guess I could have done that.
Right. So I guess it's got to be a win-win, right?
Okay.
And that's up to you. Sometimes that couch time is important.
Yeah.
Maybe you had some stress with work or family or some other things going on that you just needed a break. Right.
Yeah.
And it's okay to take a break. It really is. It's okay to take a nap.
Yeah.
You don't have to be on the grind 24/7, because that goes right back to where you said the question was, how do you rebuild, right? Or how do you
recover? Yeah.
Sleep. But just like working out, you can't just work out 24/7. You're just going to beat yourself down and you'll never grow, right? You have to work out and then let your body recover. The same thing with everything else, with interaction with people, right?
Yeah.
The public, work, all of it. You need a break sometimes. And sometimes it's okay to say, I would love to go. However, tonight I'm busy, right? And you're busy is sitting on the couch. It's not technically busy for you, but that just shows you have heart.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I feel the same way. I do the same stuff. Like all the people that ask us to sponsor things or marketing and needs go to these events. I mean, it's hard to say no because but we can't physically make it to them all, and we can't financially afford to sponsor everybody.
Right.
So
don't go to anything and don't sponsor anything. You just eliminate people stop asking you at some point, right? No. But I mean, I do feel that pressure a lot of times, especially when you become part of a community.
Yes.
So you want to be supportive. You want to be involved in as much as you can.
Yeah.
And, that time management really comes into play there, because a lot of the events, a lot of the things that happen that are outside maybe of typical business hours.
Yep.
Right. A lot of the things that are like, the chamber event called business after hours, right? And it's a time slot that's usually like 4:30 to 6:30 or something like that.
Yep.
Well, that's the block for eating dinner with my family.
Correct. That's why they
Now
only
we
schedule
adjust.
that once a month.
True.
Because if they had it every week, no one would show up.
Right. And so in those cases, that's what goes back to your
exception, but not the rule.
adjustment for
Right.
exceptions.
Exactly.
Okay.
Like if you,
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say it, but if you had a funeral, guess what? Everything stops.
Yeah.
Right. And you got to go do what you got to do, depending on.
So I heard a
how you're
great
living.
example. And you just brought up something that's so valuable. All right. So you are an empty nester.
Yeah.
Kids out of the house.
Yep.
I've got a 16-year-old.
Getting there.
There have been, close and stop saying that. There have been times where I've chosen work or especially at the dealership level, right? When I was in the dealership, 16 years, I spent a lot of nights away from home, a lot of Saturdays, all Saturdays, and then many Sundays away from my family. I heard an example the other day, and it almost broke my heart because the idea was, you're sitting on your computer, and my daughter's name's Lex. That's what I call her. She goes by Lexi. But Lexi comes up and says, "Hey, Dad, let's play this game." You're like, "Oh, sorry, baby, I'm busy." Right? But if Lexi broke an ankle, I'm not busy anymore. And it's the level of importance or priority we put on certain things in our lives that really impact us. How do we, because you've experienced that and you may be able to talk about some failures, you may be able to talk about some wins and successes in it. They're out of the house now, but that doesn't mean you don't have that pull or that draw to say, hey, because your daughter's up in Clarksville?
Yeah.
So a couple hours away, hour and a half, 2 hours.
Thank God.
Yeah.
That's close.
Yeah. But there's got to be times where you're like, I can't make that drive to go to dinner.
Yep.
And then the drive home.
Yep.
Speak to that, some of your.
Or my son being in Florida.
Yeah.
Right. Or my parents being in Florida. So there's definitely a pull for there. 100%.
Yeah.
Like that's why we went down there for Christmas. Cause we got to see them. Right. But then we have our own lives too. You definitely have to draw a line somewhere. And I guess that's where you go into prioritizing.
Yeah.
And elevating it to a certain degree, but I think you got to be conscious of it. So how often did you tell your daughter you were busy and you couldn't help her or spend time with her in that moment? Was that a regular occurring thing or is that just a once in a while thing? So if it was like every night, then that's going to be eventually pretty bad, right? But if it's like, okay, just tonight, honey, I'm a little too busy, but let's make up tomorrow or something.
Well, I think unfortunately, kids are smart and they'll condition pretty quick. Unfortunately, that
correct.
You do that a couple times and you say, "No, Lexi, I can't." 2 times, 3 times, 5 times. Guess what they're going to stop doing?
Stop asking.
They're going to stop asking.
Right.
And you don't even know that it's a problem. And that's
Correct.
a scary situation to put yourself in, right?
Good point. I guess that's where you need some emotional intelligence and then be able to look at your relationship as a whole. Am I doing enough? Right. And there we go. Right back to being a resilient gentleman.
Yeah.
Right. Are we doing enough? Is it enough? Have I spent enough time with my daughter? Am I a good father? Am I a good son? Am I a good sibling? Right. I think those are big task at hand because those are big, deep questions. And because you just said it, within 2 or 3 short moments of time, you change history. Right? You say no to your daughter 3 times, she's going to stop asking. Guess what? That little fork in the road, she went this way instead of that way. Right? And then you have other barriers you're going to have to work out later. Communication, right? Because you're not spending as much time with each other. Right? And then who knows? Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
So now I need to go work out because I've reached a level of depression.
Now maybe I'll go work out.
Yeah. No, but I mean,
actually, I didn't work out this morning. Maybe I'll go with you.
There you go. I have visitor passes at the Planet.
I'll pay their $10 daily fee, whatever. It's okay.
Let's go. So, all right. So now let's feed in. Did your kids play sports?
Yes.
Were you able to go to games and or practices?
So that's a good question. I was self-employed most of the time raising my kids.
Okay.
When they were younger, I had a few jobs with the sales and all that, the car business and all that. They were young then. But then for numerous years, I was self-employed, so I had that flexibility.
Okay.
Luckily, when I was running the store, the big store that was so demanding on my time and everything, we were already empty nesters at that point. So I could afford to dedicate all that time, except my wife wasn't totally happy all the time from the schedule and more importantly, the stress levels from it, but yeah, so that was pretty important to me. So the kids, I mean, they did it all. You can imagine, baseball, basketball, football, daughter, the cheerleading, right? All three kids. So I have two of my own and then stepson from first marriage.
Okay.
They all did BMX, right? I used to volunteer cook, and then my son, when he was in Pee Wee League or whatever, I was assistant defensive coach, so I was pretty engaged with most of that stuff.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's, I think that was a fault of mine and one of the great motivators for starting my business, getting out of the car business, the car dealership side of the business, still in the car business, but this side of the business, moving to the good side of the business is having that time.
I think I asked you, what was your motivation?
You have asked me my motivation. I've got several motivations.
Exactly. And we do.
Yeah. And that's why those can't be, like we talked about with working out. Motivation can't be the horsepower you expect to maintain.
Motivator is the starter. It gets you started. Habit keeps you going.
Correct. But, in a business world, I think it's good, though, and I know this sidetracks a little bit, but you brought it up, so I'm going to touch on this. So motivation, do you have somewhere like your whys? Do you have them written down somewhere? Do you have them posted somewhere that
goals?
You say, not just goals. I mean, you could have a goal that I want to do this much business in 2026, or you could have a goal of I want to be at this body fat percentage by the end of the year, or by the end of the month, or by the end of the week. That's a goal, but like why? That's the why sometimes is more important than the goal itself, because the why is the driving force, right? That's what keeps you moving forward. When I forget my whys, it's easy to if we have a bad week in the business, you're like, hey babe, things are a little tight, we need to really, what are we? And it's easy to start thinking negatively or to think like maybe this wasn't what we were supposed to do. And it's so important, in my opinion, to look back at those whys and go, we didn't start this, or you didn't start what you do, to look back. And I've got a sign on my desk that says, don't look back.
That's
You're
awesome.
not going that way.
That's awesome. So I love that you brought this up. So I'm getting older. I'm 53.
That surprises me.
So I'm becoming more motivated.
Okay.
Right? Because my timeline is shorter, right? And my motivators, it's pretty simple for me, is first of all, to be able to retire when I want or when I can, right? In about 10 years, I want to be able to retire. So that's the motivator for the business, right? But I also want to build something and have a succession plan. And now when it comes to health and fitness, I work out and track all this stuff because I don't want to be an invalid when I get older.
Right.
I want to be able to still walk and talk and exercise and be free. I don't want to be stuck in a chair or in a home or whatever, even if I live to only 70, but if I make it to 80 or 90 or even further, I want to be able to move around. I don't want to be a burden on somebody else to take care of me, right? And it's pretty important. Like, I was going to bring this up in the last session, but I just didn't get to it. have you ever done those blood tests for your nutrition, right? To see all that. And
I've told myself so many times I was going to, and I haven't.
And then the ancestry stuff and all that, that's pretty cool too for like shits and giggles, so to speak. But the blood work, you can get a couple different tests and it'll tell you all about your metabolism. It'll tell you what foods do what to you, right? And on one of the blood tests, it said you're 48% chance of being asthmatic, right? And guess what? I'm asthmatic.
Interesting.
So, and another part of it was like your 45% chance to be celiac. Right?
Okay.
Guess what? I'm borderline celiac.
So
right?
you know if you eat a bunch of gluten, you're going to have some
Right.
challenges.
I'm going to swell.
Yeah.
I have bad allergies anyway. I have a 65% or 67% to be diabetic. Runs in the family. My mom's diabetic. My brother was diabetic. And about 10 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, during the blood test, I went to a doctor. He asked me if I was diabetic. I said, no. He goes, well, the only reason why you're not is because you work out. And then the reason why my brother had diabetes, he didn't have the same lifestyle as I did. So some concrete evidence of where you can be versus where you could be, you know, and what the benefits of just working out is. Simple as that. I would be celiac and or diabetic.
So in our next episode, you're bringing in your Hume scale.
Okay.
We're going to do a couple measurements.
I usually weigh myself naked, but I think I'll just throw on a shirt and shorts.
We appreciate that. Our audience appreciates that. Ladies.
They said resilient.
Yeah, we will maybe basketball shorts, that one.
Yeah.
Maybe a tank top.
No, but that's cool. And that's what you should do to set accountability. Because when a review is upcoming, guess what happens? People get motivated.
Yeah, for sure. And so we'll have a review of those numbers a few weeks down the road.
Now don't cheat the scale and start eating Dunkin' Donuts and everything and blow it up to make it look like you come down real fast.
I'm pounding calories right now for the drop off. We will talk a little bit about that. I want to dive more into motivation.
Yes.
I want to dive more into discipline.
Yep.
And the separation and the differences between that. We talked a little bit about that last week, but I also want to really dive into motivations, whys, goals, goal setting, and some of the factors that produce a resilient gentleman, a high-performing resilient gentleman.
Correct. It's important. It's imperative. We need to be resilient.
Nice. Well, this week's episode brought to you by Douglas Berger of Trans World Business Advisors and me, Chris Payton, the 615 Negotiator, your car buying superhero. We look forward to seeing you next week.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Resilient Gentleman podcast. Be sure to like, share, follow, subscribe, and of course, please leave us a 5-star review. We will see you on the next one.